I get up every morning at 6:45, right as the sun breaks through the row of pines beyond my kitchen window. In the winter, the home creaks a little, but it's nothing serious. It's just the old wood settling. When I make coffee, I take my time. New ground, the French press. While it's still hot, mix in 1 spoonful of maple syrup. I always pour it into the same blue mug that I purchased at an old roadside store off of Route 2. And it's chipped. Routines appeal to me. Before the rest of the day tries to convince me, otherwise they help me recall who I am. I turn on the local public station, which always plays the weather first, while the coffee steeps. People bundle up, wind chill equals a -8. Tonight, keep your faucets dripping. I usually do. I've spent winters in northern Vermont before Julia Moore is my name. My age is 34, unless you include the numerous young designers I've coached at my firm. I'm single and have no children. A 10-minute walk from my cabin is North Line, a tiny architectural design studio that I co-founded. Despite our lack of ostentation, we have agreements with 4 townships and 1 college expansion. To me, that is success. My family members have never actually inquired about my job. I work on computers. As they say, the tale has always been that way. It's my sister Camille who shines. She is 3 years older, a public relations professional, and the type of woman you could see grinning next to a man in a holiday card from an Aspen property. Before she was even engaged, she organized bridal showers, dated quarterbacks, and served as homecoming queen. She is discussed by my parents as if she were a painting that was hung over the hearth. Something to show guests and admire me, I was the realistic one. The person who silently occupied space, restored broken items, and remembered birthdays that weren't mine was known as the helper. I'm always on edge in pictures, holding the coat of someone, rather than being in the photo I took it. Roles like that persist throughout adulthood, which is funny, I didn't mind. I thought being the one that is stable. The adhesive, when my mum would question Camille about her next trip, or my dad would go on tirades about taxes during family dinners, I would just take a sip of water and tell myself that someone had to maintain order. However, tranquility does not imply connection. I discovered it gradually in ways that initially didn't seem painful. For example, when Camille's car broke down, I immediately wired $700 since she's really tight this month and you're doing well, right? Or when my mum would phone and ask if I could send a little extra for their heating bill just until your dad's retirement check clears. I was also doing well. Simply put, I was unaware that I was being taken advantage of. I began to notice that the house felt more empty than it should have that winter. The ceramic deer. My co-worker got me 5 years ago. Cinnamon sticks in a jar and fir garland on the stair railing were all part of my holiday decor, as they always are. The bottle was the next item. One morning as I reached for a light bulb, I took it down from its dusty, forgotten place above the kitchen sink. A hefty vintage glass syrup bottle, the type with the etched pine trees on the sides and a small metal flip top. While Camille and I sat at the table as children, my dad would constantly hum a country tune as he poured Sunday syrup from the bottle. Mostly out of habit, I kept it when they reduced their home. Uncertain of why I hadn't thrown it out, I cleaned it and placed it on the windowsill. Perhaps I wanted to remind myself that I was a part of something basic and warm, once prior to expectations becoming ingrained in patterns. There was silence during that year's festivities. No formal invitation. No, Jules, what are your plans? A week prior to Christmas, Camille sent out this group text. This year we're hosting dinner at 5, only family around 3. Could you help with setup and bring dessert? No warmth, no check-in. The mere presumption that I would arrive like a professional repairing a damaged scene, I told myself that I was thinking too much, that it wasn't intimate, that I should simply be appreciative of being included. Don't stir the pot, said the voice in my head, the one that sounds disturbingly like my mother. Simply leave. I came at 30:05, prepared a pear dessert, and used the spare key they had never requested again to sneak through the front door. Camille smiled distractedly as she greeted me. Would you mind helping to iron the tablecloth? It has wrinkles. No. Hello? Happy Christmas. Or I'm happy you're here. No more creases to correct. I therefore repaired them. When everyone else showed up, I poured wine into other people's glasses without anybody asking how I was doing, laughed at stories I wasn't in, and smiled through the awkward silences. When I returned home that evening, I sat at the table in quiet, looked at the syrup bottle on the sill, and poured the remaining wine into a mismatched mug. Outside, the snow was falling in a slanted pattern, the sort of wind that rattles the frames of antique windows. I became aware that I had not received a single hug that evening. No thanks at all. Simply said, can you iron this? Simply said, you got dessert. Only conjecture. Only rolls. And I began to question who would notice if I stopped showing up. Would they just find someone else to pour the syrup? Or worse? On a Monday morning, the email arrived. I was enjoying my second cup of coffee, which was dark roast with a dash of oat milk, in the same chipped blue mug, while I sat at my desk in the North Line office. The snow from the weekend blizzard was still sticking to the window corners. Someone in the workshop was swearing at the printer, and in the adjacent room our junior architect Margot was humming off key. It ought to have been a typical day. Then I opened my email though. Regarding Sunday family brunch, from Camille Moore to Aunt Tilly. Mom, Dad, and her fiancé Lucas. I wasn't intimidated. I only saw it because earlier that week, when replying to one of my mom's jokes that she had forwarded, Camille unintentionally pushed reply all. I slid down. There were already 6 messages in the thread. They were organising a brunch for their engagement in the home of my parents. This Sunday, nobody had told me about it, nothing. The note from Camille said, we should keep this one quiet. Only Lucas's close relatives and those who truly know him. Things shouldn't become tense. Jules can be, as you are aware. She will simply make things awkward or ask questions. It would be better if she didn't participate. I blinked, I read it again. After that, those who are truly acquainted with Lucas. She should avoid this one. I was not invited at all. I was talked about, categorized, dismissed, similar to a possible danger on an event checklist. Not only had they excluded me, but they had done so in such a casual manner, as if it were clear, as if it made sense. Additionally, that's what caused me to break. I didn't respond. Not immediately, I strolled to the break room, shut my email, got up, and gazed out the frosted window above the sink. There was ice on the walkway outside. The diner across the street was updating its chalkboard menu. The type of town where you are greeted by name, where snowplows arrive before dawn, and where silence may occasionally feel like safety, or depending on the day, exile. I reflected on all the occasions I had reorganized my life to accommodate that family. I discreetly paid all of the bills, including the rental deposit Camille was unable to pay after her most recent breakup, the veterinary cost when Mom's cat became ill, and the plumbing repair when Dad's basement flooded. I had never once shown gratitude, but I suppose I thought I was important. As it happens, I was just helpful. I had trouble sleeping that night. Wrapped in the old college flannel blanket, I sat on the floor near the heater and gazed at the syrup bottle on the windowsill. The carved pine trees appeared quite alive in the way the light fell on them. When I was younger, I recalled Dad filling it on Sunday mornings, the cozy kitchen, and how he used to call me Button. And I pondered when I became invisible and ceased to be his daughter. I grabbed my phone, I ran my fingertips over the group chat I typed. I came across the brunch thread. Do not be concerned, I'm not coming. I wouldn't want to cause any awkwardness. I gazed at it after that. I removed it. I chose to do something I had never done before. Instead, I remained silent. No justification. No text message of guilt. No call to Camille, while acting as though she is unharmed. Nothing but quiet. And it had a power-like feeling. My mother called 2 days later. I didn't respond. She then recorded a voicemail. Hey, honey, I thought you were too busy to talk about the brunch. She didn't want to overwhelm you, Camille remarked. I take it you understand. In any case, how about we do something together later? My heart was thumping steadily and slowly as I gazed at my phone. No one apologized. No recognition of their actions. Only a revision. Simply said gentle manipulation encased in warmth. After putting the phone down, I launched the Venmo app. I had sent more than $4,000 to various family members in the previous year. Never with any expectations. For the first time, though I gave it a critical look, I set up a monthly automatic transfer for mom and dad's electric bills. Then I pushed cancel. After that, I took out the leftover chili from the refrigerator, warmed it up, and made myself a cup of tea, using the new thermos I had purchased to replace the broken one that was no longer able to retain heat. I believed that sometimes you needed to let things fall apart before they became honest. I was looking through candidate folders on my workplace computer about a week after the brunch to which I had not been invited. In order for me to resume concentrating on creative direction, we were looking to hire a new financial manager to handle Northline's budgeting. I had a mug of lukewarm peppermint tea next to me, 10 or so resumes on my screen, and a playlist of instrumental guitars humming softly in the background. Wednesday was the day I had kept my scarf on inside because it was cold enough. That's when I noticed it. Lucas M. Harrington is his name. Experienced 7 years in project finance, references reviewed, clean resume, worked for several boutique firms. I wouldn't have given it any thought, except that Lucas was Camille's fiancé. Harrington was his last name. Is it a coincidence? Perhaps I selected the headshot located in the file's corner. Shave clean dark hair blazer, in navy blue polished nona. I gasped. He was the one Camille's Lucas. Lucas Harrington had recently applied to work with my organization. My world did not blow up. It simply narrowed. I sat for a long minute without moving. My windowsill syrup bottle glistened as if it were observing. I selected the references. All of them are valid. After that, I examined the internal notes. He wasn't merely a candidate. He had received approval, conducted an interview last week, assigned to begin work on Monday of next week directly under our CFO. My workplace is just down the hall from it. Neither he nor my assistant nor even HR had made the connection. He had never actually met me. I also never uploaded any photos to the internet. I was just Julia from Northline to him. Not Camille's awkward younger sister, Jules. However, I was aware. I also knew that he was going to find out soon. The hire was not stopped by me. The file was not altered by me, did not turn down the offer, failed to issue a warning. I simply allowed it to happen. Not with malice, but because I didn't feel compelled to shield anyone from their own decisions for the first time. Lucas arrived at work 10 minutes early the next Monday. Firmly shake hands. Delicate cologne. The same self-assured vigor Camille constantly boasted about. When I entered the conference room, he appeared taken aback. With a smile, he said, "You must be Julia." "My name is Lucas." I gave a nod. "Indeed." "Julia Moore." His grin wavered. "Your last name is the same as Camille." "Indeed. She is my sister." Quiet enough time for the truth to fall to the ground like snow on a sidewalk. He parted his lips. I closed it. I gave him the onboarding binder by reaching across the table. This week I'll be going over the first quarter financial plan with you. Greetings from North Line. He appeared shaky. Not that I was impolite, I wasn't. But since his direct superior, the lady his fiancée had written off as a social liability, was now seated opposite him. Furthermore, I remained silent about the breakfast, or Camille, or the email I came upon, or the years I was obliterated in silence. Therefore, I didn't have to certain realities come to light naturally. That night my boots crunched against the snow as I made my way home through the fresh powder on the pavement. The sky seemed infinite gentle and dark blue. My chest felt light, but my hands were frigid. When I entered, I saw the syrup bottle on the ledge, its pine tree pattern highlighted by the porch light. I gave it a little turn. It just needs to catch enough light. Just enough to serve as a reminder. Sometimes the most impactful thing you can say is to remain silent. 3 days following Lucas's first day, Camille left me a voicemail. The way she always sounded when she felt she had lost control of a situation was clipped and tight. Did you not know? That was where he was beginning. He walked into that without warning, because you allowed him. How petty can you be? Jules, it was strange because of you. I didn't respond. Not because I was at a loss for words. Yes, I did. However, I had at last realized that not every conflict warranted a reaction in any case. Some people only hear their own reflections. My mom gave me a call that Friday. Twice, I picked up the phone the third time. Julia, she said, Camille is furious. She is embarrassed. I let the silence linger. Because her fiancé realized I'm not a ghost, she asked. My mom let out a sigh. Stop being dramatic. Mom, I muttered. I was not invited to her engagement brunch by you. That wasn't without tension. Camille believed it would be simpler. You are aware that your presence cans. I chuckled, not with resentment, just gently, as if someone had finally realized how ridiculous the dance was. Me being here, I said it again. You're referring to me, the daughter who contributed to the cost of fixing your roof. When Dad's pension was delayed, that person was the one who sent groceries, the one who never quite fit in, sufficiently presentable for visitors. That's unfair, she remarked. I understand, I answered. In this family, fairness was never the goal. A pause occurred. We just didn't want to make Camille uncomfortable. She replied, becoming quieter, and I felt at ease. I inquired. I adjusted after all those years of being too much, too serious, or too busy. I became smaller. I made the payment. I said nothing. And it was still insufficient. One more pause. You sound angry? She added. I'm not. I said, I'm finished. I didn't mean to be threatening. I intended it as a limit, a complete phrase, no restrictions, no justifications. Completed. Lucas knocked on my office door the following day. Without glancing at the document he held in his hand, he stood in the doorway. I didn't know, he said instead. Regarding the brunch, about the way they discuss you, I gave one nod. You don't have to bear that burden. Something softened in his face when he glanced at me. It was not only his own shame. Similar to acknowledgement, he remarked, she portrays you as a problem. But really, the only person who has ever made me feel as though I had to earn the truth is you. My eyebrows went up. Is it a compliment? I apologize, he declared. After giving me the folder, he departed. I filled the ancient bottle with maple syrup once again that evening. I didn't have to, since I desired to. Without a purpose or a holiday, I was cooking pancakes for myself. Something I hadn't done in years, and I felt something I hadn't felt in a while as I sat down by myself in my kitchen with the lights down and an old James Taylor song on the radio. Silence, not isolation, not bitterness. Nothing but silence. As if the sound had finally ceased, as though the syrup had finally been drained clear. On a Sunday it took place late March. Small stones and broken twigs were visible beneath the snow that had begun to melt in odd areas throughout my yard. Vermont's mud season. I heard a car arrive just as I was cleaning the kitchen counters. The gravel made the tires crunch. I neglected to look out the window. I didn't have to. A knock on the door came a few seconds later. I took it open. Camille stood there by herself. Hair was done, although not in the typical way. No cosmetics. A white sweater that appeared to have been borrowed. She appeared to be bracing for contact, as her arms were crossed tightly over her chest. "May I enter?" she inquired. I moved out of the way. The old syrup bottle was between us as we sat at the table. It wasn't moved by me. It was now recognizable. She didn't apologize right away. She asked a question first. "Why didn't you speak up? When did he arrive at work?" I cocked my head. "What could be said?" "I'm not sure," she muttered. "That you were angry that I went too far." Something I gave a nod. "Yes, Camille, I did say something, no." I replied, in silence. I no longer played the part you all created for me. She turned her head away. I didn't believe it would. I didn't believe it would have that much of an impact. "And that's why it mattered," I said softly. She blinked away the momentary haze in her eyes. "Didn't I mess it up?" I didn't respond. There are some questions that are really not for us to answer. She looked at the container of syrup. "You held on to that," I remarked. "It pours clean. That is uncommon." She smiled weakly when Dad let me hold it. I used to adore it. "Do you recall? Only when we were little did Dad allow us to take turns," I said, "every other Sunday." "You have more of it," she grimaced. Yes, I did. Everyone did. There was a long pause. Then she leaned a little forward. She declared, "I'm not here to offer excuses. I simply don't know how to recover from this." I gave a nod. "You're not required to. No script exists. Those females at the breakfast table are no longer us." Camille appeared worn out, not vanquished, but at last human. "I broke up with Lucas," she remarked, "not due to you, due to me, because I consistently chose appearance above gut instinct." I remained silent. Subsequently, I stood up, poured her a cup of tea, and set it before her. She encircled it with her hands as though it were fire she didn't deserve. "I have no expectations," she muttered. However, I wanted to express it. I answered, "Then you've said it. That's sufficient for today." She gave a nod. And that was it for once. No show, don't beg. A weary woman seated opposite her sister. I spent some time on the porch after she went observing the trees as they swayed softly in the breeze. I didn't feel like I had won. I was not depressed. I felt motionless, as if I had just left the stage, as if I had at last come into my own. I tidied up the cabinet beneath the sink that evening, broken and old items. The thermos had lost its ability to retain heat. A tin of mints from a 2018 business trip. My father's handwriting on a grocery list. I put the bottle of syrup back in the cabinet, not because I kept it a secret. However, it had fulfilled its purpose. I no longer needed it in plain sight. Conclusion. It has been half a year. We still don't speak frequently. No group chats with family. No invitations to brunch. No jokes that are passive-aggressive. However, I occasionally receive a card in the mail. One of Camille's pictures. Mum's recipe. Nothing noteworthy. Simpler gestures. Please. Sincere ones. And me. In that cracked blue cup, I still brew coffee every morning. I still commute to work on foot. And when it's not too chilly, I continue to sit on the porch and listen to the quiet. No, not the quiet of exclusion, the quiet of not having to be invited in, of being at home already.